So, Indonesia's President Joko Widodo wants stricter rules to deal with COVID-19, with millions expected to return to their home villages after Ramadan. There's concern about a possible surge in new infections when the annual exodus begins in late May and at the end of the holy month of Ramadan.
Dalam menjalankan kebijakan pembatasan sosial berskala besar, saya minta agar segera disiapkan aturan pelaksanaannya yang lebih jelas sebagai panduan-panduan untuk provinsi, kabupaten, dan kota sehingga mereka bisa kerja. Dan saya ingatkan kebijakan kekarantinaan kesehatan termasuk karantina wilayah adalah kewenangan pemerintah pusat, bukan kewenangan pemerintah.
The number of COVID-19 deaths in Indonesia is 122, the highest in Southeast Asia. There are more than 1,400 infections. Only 3 provinces have not reported any coronavirus cases. Now, Chandni Bhavani is in Jakarta. She joins us now. Chandni, tell us more about these possible restrictions.
Well, President's spokesman in a statement said that the government is preparing a presidential regulation and a presidential instruction which will function as a legal basis for regulating the mass exodus during the Lebaran holidays. Now, these regulations will attempt to stem the spread of COVID-19. According to the spokesman, President Joko Widodo is calling all elements of the public to stay focused on preventing further spread of the virus, and more so by reducing inter-regional mobility. And with the annual Lebaran holiday mass exodus coming up in about a month and a half, local public figures and authorities have urged people not to go back to their hometowns. At this point, the central government has not outright issued a policy banning mudik, or the mass exodus as it's called, but President Widodo has repeatedly stressed that Indonesia will not implement a lockdown. But we also know that one of the options currently being explored to limit movement within cities and provinces is by shutting off access for people to and from these provinces. Now, we know that the Ministry of Transportation has previously said that it was coordinating with the National Police, the military, and other ministries to prepare a plan to restrict the movement of people between the provinces. Jakarta police have also come forward to say that they have a simulation in place, and should the need arise, should they get the go-ahead, they are ready to proceed with those plans. We've also seen similar statements from the West Java governor, who said that he has given permission to local areas to local districts within his province to carry out a partial quarantine. He said he is not using the term lockdown, and he has said that a total quarantine cannot be taken by provinces without permission from the president himself.
Chandni, you mentioned there about mudik. So reports are saying that an early mudik of sorts has actually begun. What are we talking about here? And, how could this actually affect efforts to contain the virus?
Now, just to give you an idea of the volume of the exodus that usually happens every year, in 2019, the mass exodus saw nearly 20 million people traveling to all regions in Indonesia. And according to President Widodo, he has received reports from the governor of Central Java, the governor of the special region of Yogyakarta, even to say that the mass exodus flow has already begun trickling in earlier than usual. And usually people make their way back to their hometowns at the end of the fasting month. However, since the enactment of the emergency status in Jakarta, President Widodo has said that he has seen an increase in the flow of the mass exodus, especially the movement of informal workers from Jakarta and the greater Jakarta areas, all going back to their hometowns. And in fact, over the past 8 days only, there have been 876 fleets of interprovincial buses that were recorded transporting some 14,000 passengers back to their hometowns. And this number doesn't even include the people who've already gone back using other means of transport, such as trains or ships, or even by air. Now, the danger here, or rather the massive risk that we are seeing, and the danger that could potentially happen, is that people from Jakarta who could potentially be carrying COVID-19, they could potentially be carrying the virus, would be bringing it back to their hometowns and risk infecting other people there, thus spreading the virus outside of Jakarta. Now, we know that Jakarta is the epicenter of the virus so far. There have been over 200 deaths in Jakarta alone. So I apologize. There have been 200 deaths, not confirmed positive cases of COVID-19 in Jakarta alone. And the Jakarta governor earlier today said that these cases could some of them were not tested and some of them were not able to be tested, but they also died before receiving their test results. So we know that there are a lot of vulnerable people and we know that there is a very high risk of the virus possibly infecting a larger number of people than the number of deaths that have been reported so far.
All right, thanks for that. Chatni Vadvani speaking to us from Jakarta.